And welcome everyone. Today we are going to be briefly talking about the symposium that's coming up and where you will be able to present your posters and participate in the competition. And to complete your project, we will then hear from Dr. Harpreet Kaur, who's very experienced in completing projects and sharing them in peer-reviewed publications. But before we jump into that, I want to briefly explain why bioinformatics is such a critical skill and what is the gap that we are trying to address. So briefly about us, we are, as a part of a company, decided that we want to help others utilize bioinformatics in an efficient way. And we realized that the gap is actually in people. So when we talk about how data is generated and how it is used, the methodologies that have been so tremendously impacted by this revolution in genomics have made it very easy to produce cheap and high quality data that has a lot of detail. But the problem is that there's a gap between data and information. And what that means is that we are generating data at a much higher pace than the information that is reliable, clear, and actionable can be extracted from this omics data. And so when we did a survey a few years ago, not we, but actually people that RNA-seq blog, they found that the data analysis part is the highest priority in terms of filling in that gap. So in fact, what is happening is that universities, typically where students get this really high quality preparation in many different fields, do not have the experience in applying bioinformatics to real research questions as they graduate. And so as a result, when we come to companies that are hiring, the companies are hiring for hard skills and the universities are looking for people that have these hard skills, but at the same time, they want people that know how to ask the right question and find answers in complex data. And so that is why we essentially designed the OmicsLogic training programs to help prepare those kinds of skills. So the real objective here is to incorporate these different technical skills into a process of research. And a standard way to start your research is to ask a question. Asking the right question and finding the right data that can answer your question in a comprehensive, conclusive, and reproducible way is critical for the process of believing in science, learning from science, being able to find new insights using the scientific method. And so that is why over the past few years, we have been conducting our research fellowship programs for students from around the world that have completed projects in a variety of different themes and have presented those at international conferences. However, what we found is that many of the students do not have the opportunity to complete a project to a high enough standard to be able to present at a focused topic. So if you have a conference, typically that conference can be about bioinformatics, it could be about oncology, it could be about infectious diseases. And so in those niche topics, there are already experts that kind of discuss the topic in a very advanced way. And so students don't really have that many opportunities to have the whole process guided for them and have the opportunity to present and get feedback from high quality judges, from high quality experts. I mean, I don't know how many of you have already been in poster presentations, but so many times you put in so much effort into your poster, you come to a conference and there's not really a lot of feedback, at least not a lot of feedback that is constructive, that is addressing the specific question that you have. And so that is really why we designed this Omics Research Symposium. We hope that this is going to be an event that will continue to, that we will continue to use to bring together experts that understand the challenges of bioinformatics education. And so what that means is that they understand how bioinformatics is changing. It's a very dynamic field because of the new data types, because of the new methods, because of the pandemic, because of the people, right? There's many factors at play. They also understand that students need a system. They need a system to follow. They need a program that they can complete. And then they need to have an outcome. And that means that they need an opportunity with jobs, with research labs, with a place where they can effectively apply what they have learned to make a difference. They want to make a difference in the world using the skills that they have. And so that's why we also are going to use this as an opportunity to discuss with universities, colleges, high schools, how can they utilize effective resources for training and education in bioinformatics. And because we have so many participants, we're going to also have some prizes that I will talk about in just a few moments. So what are we going to cover in this symposium? First of all, how can you get noticed in this community? I think that many students that are learning bioinformatics or even using bioinformatics are not having enough opportunities to really stand out. And what does standing out really mean? That means that you have the right skills, you have something to show for what you've done, and you really can have a recognition that is certified from experts, from industry leaders that can say, yes, this is indeed an interesting topic, you've done a good job, this is what we think about it, right? So that is what is lacking, and we're going to address that. Number two, we're going to have an opportunity for you as students or faculty discuss the challenges for universities. I think universities are facing a lot of challenges in placing their graduates in the right jobs and the right labs, helping them connect the dots. A lot of that process is frustrating to a lot of people. And so that when something is frustrating, we need to address that. So we need to have effective training, effective outcomes, and we want to connect the dots. Now, number three is, where is bioinformatics headed? So bioinformatics is a field that has undergone a tremendous change in the past decade. What that means is that what you're learning today is not what's going to be needed in the next 5 or 10 years. And so how do you prepare for the future? How do you acquire the skills that are not just for a technology that is fading, that's going to become irrelevant in 5 years, but how do you acquire skills that are really needed? And so that's why we divided this whole symposium into two parts. The first part is going to be on the changing role of bioinformatics in research, industry, and education. So we'll talk about how the pandemic, for example, made sharing of omics data and made analysis of this shared data much more accessible to a wider range of people. It's not just about bioinformaticians anymore, clinicians, people in biotechnology, students, citizen scientists, everybody is using bioinformatics and data analysis to investigate complex questions, like the question that everybody is thinking about. You know, what is the origin of this pandemic, and where is it going? How is it going to continue to evolve? And what can we do about it? This has become, from a niche area of research just in a few labs around the world, now a topic that is widely discussed in the public media. It's on TV, it's on the radio, it's in everywhere we go. And so that means that the role of bioinformatics in our societies is changing. This is not anymore a niche domain that only a few people, the initiated ones, the experts, can participate in, but also that changes the role of those experts. How do they, from being experts in one particular specific type of data or a method, become leaders for a wider community that is passionate and interested in applying the same tools to a wide variety of different challenges, right? So you all of a sudden, what is the difference between being a leader and being a researcher focused on that niche, narrow question? So those are all the topics that we're going to discuss, and we're going to highlight some of these important techniques, technologies, and systems that are being put together to help address some of these gaps. What are they? Artificial intelligence and machine learning, obviously, cheap genomic and all kinds of omics data, the integration of multi-omics data that is becoming a pressing need, user-friendly tools for non-bioinformaticians to get involved, and advanced technologies like quantum computing, for example. So those are some of the things that we will address in day one. In day two, we will talk about how anyone can get involved and make an impact. So how can you, as a student, maybe in high school, maybe undergraduate, just learning about biotechnology, or maybe pursuing a medical degree, how can you get involved in the dry lab and make an impact? And how can you actually contribute to finding solutions and making progress in these important topics? So this is in day two. Now, in the conclusion part of it, we will introduce you to some experts who are mentors and judges, and will help us discuss important topics in both of these domains, and also provide you with some expert feedback on some of the top poster presentations. Now, this is just some of them, but I will later on pass it on to Dr. Mohit Mazumdar to introduce a lot of the other panelists towards the end of today's session. But here's what I would like you to think about as we prepare for the symposium, and as today we're going to be thinking about how to make the most out of the poster presentation session. So we will have questions for the panel that you can now start thinking about and share with us, so that we can pose these questions to the experts in the field. For those that are going to come from academia, you can ask questions like, what skills are needed to get hired as a fresher, beginner, or expert, right? So you get hired in industry, you get hired in academia, right? You want to work in a lab, and you want to understand what kinds of skills are needed, how to ask the right question, how to analyze complex data, how to do data visualization, how to work with others who might not have the same expertise as you do, right? These are all important skills in academia. What are some topics a student needs to learn about to join research, right? When you think, I want to become a research in, let's say, infectious disease in the academia, what do you need to know to be able to participate in that kind of research? How to approach a PI to get into a lab? Can undergraduate students join real research projects, right? Or is this just for PhD students and postdocs? So those are some questions. Again, we're looking for more questions. Please submit those questions in today's chat. We're really looking to you to help you get those questions answered from the expert panels. Now, again, the same questions can go for industry, right? Industry has a different set of needs, a different set of challenges. And so it's good to know what essential skills are needed to get hired. How can a student learn about joining industry, right? It's very different from academia. So what is the path to get there? What positions in industry we'll see hiring in the next few years, right? Maybe you're graduating soon. Maybe you are graduating now. You want to know in the next 5 years, how do I get hired? How do I know that I'm going to have a job? And how can students find internships with industry? I think another important topic, because obviously you don't just go from graduating to all of a sudden having the right job. You want to explore what kind of positions, what kind of skills, what kinds of interesting questions are being addressed by the industry. Now, we will also have specific experts in different domains like oncology, infectious diseases, astrobiology, and others. And so for those, we also have some specific questions, but we are looking for more. What are some of the hottest trends where bioinformatics is needed in oncology? I mean, we know about immunotherapy, we know about precision medicine. What are some of the other coming up and hot topics that people need to think about? Should students pursuing medical degrees learn bioinformatics, right? So if you are interested in oncology and precision medicine, perhaps you're looking to acquire a medical degree. I mean, should you even be concerned about bioinformatics? Is that going to be a requirement for the doctors of the 21st century? How can a student work on clinical data to understand projects, right? So in the clinic, in the hospital, is a very different setting from when you take these projects from the public domain and from research. And so how can a student really experience that hands-on without kind of violating the different rules and regulations around clinical data? And what are some of the changes taking place in oncology, right? Where is it going? How does the future look? And what is the data going to look like in the next few years? So the same thing about infectious diseases. And we just put together some examples here. Obviously, we can expand this list. So how has the pandemic changed genomics in infectious diseases, right? Obviously, it has become much cheaper, much more affordable, much more easy to acquire and find public domain data. A lot of the methods for analyzing the data have become publicly available as well. So how have all of these trends changed the area of infectious diseases? And then what is the role of bioinformatics in public health? A lot of students that are interested in infectious diseases are interested in public health, and bioinformatics traditionally has not been part of the public health curriculum, even though biostatistics obviously has. So what is the difference between biostatistics, bioinformatics, and do they actually talk to each other in some way? And then we will have some hot new topics, I think very interesting developments with astrobiology, space travel, living on Mars, searching for life, right? There are many interesting topics. And so we hope that we can address some of those questions as well. You know, how do you get started? I mean, do you have to work for NASA to be able to get started, or can you just start from the comfort of your own home? Finally, in all of these topics, in industry, in academia, in these different domains, we are going to have some prizes for best posters and presentations. So let me pause right here and let me ask you, how many of you that are here today with us are planning to have a poster presentation? Okay, so if you do have a poster presentation, please put one in the chat box. Okay, so put in number 1. All right, excellent. Okay, I'll just give it a couple of minutes for all of you to say, okay, so if you're planning to have a poster presentation, before we move on, I'm going to switch over to my screen over here, and I'm going to ask you to do the following. So this is the link to the Omics Logic Symposium, okay? If you're going to put number 1, we're going to, okay, thank you, Ajasvi. We're going to be monitoring all of your answers, and we're actually going to be following up, because our objective today is to help you present and win the prize, right? We hope that some of you are going to win these prizes. I'll tell you about the prizes in just a few moments, but I want to first take a look at this page. Okay, and you will see here the registration form. So you have to submit your level of education, where you're from, and then here you have 2 options: listener registration, which is free, or right here, poster competition. So poster competition comes with a registration price. I'll talk about that. There are also some waivers for the price for the price for the poster, but it's important to know that you have these 2 options, and you have to submit the right option when you register for the symposium. After you see all the different speakers and you have here a complete schedule for the symposium, you will see here some of the challenges that we're going to be addressing. And right at the bottom, you have an option to submit your research poster. So again, right here, you can give a project title and submit a project abstract. Okay, this is just your abstract. You will get a review of your abstract, and thank you, Ajasvi, for posting the complete form. So the complete form is separately available as well. But what is important is that right when you submit, you will get some feedback from our team, who's going to review all of the abstracts, and will give you some feedback whether your poster qualifies for the competition and for the poster presentation, and some pointers to address, some topics to address before you actually submit the full thing. Okay, so important, there's a process. First you register, you submit, you get feedback, address that feedback. Okay, very important. The deadline is going to be on Monday, next Monday. So you still have all of your weekend that's coming up. So today is Wednesday, so you almost have 4 or 5 days to complete that. And today, in the next few hours, we're going to be, yes, there's going to be an attendance certificate for the symposium for both of the days. There's going to be some additional workshop opportunities before and after the symposium. Okay, great. So that is about the submission process. Now, for those of you that are actually going to be interested in participating, you can check, please, because I know that people are from different countries, please check the schedule. Okay, so here we have the schedule. Maybe, Jasmine, you can paste the link for that as well. The schedule will start very early US time to accommodate some of the international participants. We have excellent speakers in all of the sessions. Some of them are still being finalized, but you will find here all of the information about the speakers, some amazing experts with very important topics in the domain in bioinformatics. And you will see some breakout sessions. And so when you're thinking about the symposium, please plan out to be there, to be on time, to make sure that you have registered for the appropriate session, and to make sure that you have added, Jasmine, please paste the link to the schedule here. Okay, so if you can make sure that you're there, you have registered correctly for the type of breakout session. And so please make sure that marketing at Pine Bio and marketing at OmicsLogic.com are in your contact list so that you're getting the notifications. We're going to be sending all of this information by email to those of you that have registered. Again, if you just want to be a listener, it is free. For those of you that want to submit a poster and participate in the competition, there's a very modest registration fee. This is for us to help with covering the costs of this symposium. And we want to make sure that you have the right information. Now, some of you, yes, so Anushka, we will send out follow-up emails. And the emails are going to be coming from marketing at Pine Bio and marketing at Omics Logic. So it's very important to keep those in your contact list. Okay, so where is this going? Why symposium? Why the poster? Is it just going to be a one-time event, or can you do more with your project? So we recommend for all of you that are planning to present to actually follow a very defined process that we've defined on the Omics Logic Learn portal. You can essentially do all of the steps as a participant of our research fellowship program. I know that not all of you are participants, so this is something that you can consider in the future, because to make a lasting impact from your project, you don't want that project to just go away. And there's a way to submit a project. I'm sure that Dr. Harpreet will speak about this, and have this featured on our portal so that industry and academia and people in our network are aware of you and aware of your project. And so you can see right here some of the examples of projects that are going to be a part of the competition. Pragati, I see that you've raised your hand. If you could hold off just a couple more minutes. And if you have a question, you can put that in chat and our team will answer that. Okay, so that is another link. So if you want to kind of go for this longer term, we have some opportunities for you there, but also just briefly, I want to show you where you can complete the registration for the full symposium and the poster presentation. Okay, so here we have a program called Omics Research Symposium. You will find here information being filled out for the next few days until the end of this week. And you'll see how we have some options for you to get registered for the competition. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Okay, so now I want to briefly tell you about the prizes, right? How do you, what are you going to be competing against? What are some of the criteria? What are some of the things that the judges are going to be looking for? So as you know, your poster is going to have several different sections. It's going to have an introduction, methods and results, and discussion or conclusion. So for each one of those, there's going to be a point system to get feedback. And so this feedback is going to come with some additional notes. So first of all, we're going to look at the introduction, right? The introduction will be graded by having great, exciting ideas, strong rationale, great hypothesis, right? So refining your question is a very critical part of making an impactful project. Number two, you will have methods and results. So we're looking for very clear interpretation, visually clear, logically connected, important findings, innovative techniques, and strong statistics. So it needs to have significance, right? It has to have significance, and it has to have strong results. And then number three, discussion and conclusion. You need to have something that leads to a need of further research. We're sure that these posters are going to be great, but typically a poster is a beginning of a project, not the end of the project. So in your objective of getting to this part, you actually want to be able to get feedback from experts so that you can take your research further and eventually publish, right? In publication with peer review, that's really where you want to be. But in this opportunity, you want to get feedback to refine all of this. So don't worry about winning the prize necessarily. Even if you won't win the prize, you will get feedback about how you can go further with this project. And then finally, presentation quality. So it not only has to be scientifically sound, but it's very important to make it look nice, to make it presentable, to make it clear, to make your graphics clear. And so that is what we will talk about in the next few minutes. Again, register to participate. Make sure that you're applying for a poster competition. We will have prizes and we will have a best high